What is radical feminism? Radical feminism is a tendency within the tradition of feminism itself and the women's liberation movement, typified by the work of Shulamith Firestone, which defines women as forming a class in a quasi-Marxist sense, and considers the gender-class division as the fundamental division within a society dominated by patriarchy. In particular, radical feminism is a philosophy, or an ideological perspective within the tradition of feminism in general, that calls for a radical reorganization of society in which male supremacy is eliminated in all social and economic contexts, while recognizing that women's experiences are also affected by other social divisions, such as in race, class, and gender orientation. Many of the earliest statements from the American women's movement were made from radical feminist perspective and, although the British movement tended to be dominated by socialist feminism, radical feminism was a powerful force in Britain from the early 1970s onwards. Whilst not all its supporters would agree with Firestone that women's oppression is grounded in their biological role as potential mothers, most radical feminists would agree that all women are to be regarded as potential allies in a struggle for liberation that brings them into conflict with all men. The insistence that the primary struggle is one against men and patriarchy, rather than against the social structures of capitalist society, leads radical feminists to be suspicious of the broader concerns of socialist feminism, which, they argue, subordinate women's interests to those of male-dominated political parties, trade unions and other organizations. Differences of opinion between socialist and radical feminists lay at the origins of many of the divisions within the women's liberation movement of the 1970s. The most extreme forms of radical feminism led to separatism, and to calls for male babies to be excluded from women's conferences, and to the argument that the logical choice for women-identified women was political lesbianism. As we can see, radical feminism emphasizes the idea that inequality between men and women, or, to be specific, the social domination of women by men, is deeply rooted in patriarchy. Hence, for the radical feminists, patriarchy divides social rights, privileges, and power primarily along the lines of gender, which in turn privileges men and oppresses women. For this reason, the radical feminists oppose the existing male-dominated political and social organization in general. For the radical feminists, therefore, liberation from the unjust society begins, first and foremost, with the abolishment of patriarchy.